The delegate from Fairfax, Delegate Simon.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I rise for a point of personal privilege.
The delegate has the floor.
Mr. Speaker, members of the House, I'm going to try something a little bit different today. I know everybody, if you're on social media or part of the zeitgeist, everybody's playing different games. Every morning you check in with a different game, 5-letter game, maybe a version of that. Well, I've got a game that I'd like to sort of play with some of the members. If y'all will indulge me for a second, it's a game of Who Said It. So I'm going to read some quotes. I'll give you some multiple choices, and maybe you guys can help guess who it is that said it. So the first quote says, I got my glasses back on, "Today, we can take a significant step forward in acknowledging the importance of redemption, second chances, and the need to address inequalities in our justice system. The right to vote is cornerstone of society and the free republic in which we live. When someone serves their sentence, they should have their right to vote restored automatically. We're going to continue to advocate for a constitutional amendment and make this major milestone permanent." Let's see if we know who said it. Was it California Governor Gavin Newsom? Was it former Virginia Governor Terry McAuliffe? Or was it Republican Governor of Iowa, Kim Reynolds? Yes, it was Republican Governor Kim Reynolds, Mr. Speaker. I know that surprises you. A couple more here, real quick one. This one's shorter. This one says, "Our laws should pursue the safety of our citizens. However, no one is kept safe by withholding the right to vote from an individual that has completed their sentence." What group do you think might have said that? Would it be the ACLU of Virginia? Could have been. It wasn't. Is it the League of Women Voters? No. Was it New Virginia Majority? No. No, it was Americans for Prosperity, Mr. Speaker. What? Now let's see if we can do one that's a little bit closer to home here. What Virginia state senator said, "The reality is that good people make mistakes, particularly when they are young. Also, people can be rehabilitated, complete their education, pay their debt to society, and go on to become honorable and upstanding citizens who deserve a second chance." Was it Adam Ebbin? Was it Louise Lucas? Or was it Republican Jill Vogel? Yes, it was Jill Vogel, Mr. Speaker, members of the House. Last one, Mr. Speaker, last one, and then I'll get on to the substance. What United States Senator said, "It's an important issue. When you look at who's being deprived of voting, they're disproportionately people of color. There's a racial outcome in who's incarcerated in our country. Not only is incarceration unfair, but they get out and their voting rights are impaired." What U.S. Senator would say this? Would it have been Raphael Warnock of Georgia? Could have been. Could it be former California Senator Kamala Harris? No, but it could have been. No, Mr. Speaker, it was Republican Senator Rand Paul. Mr. Speaker, members of the House, why do I bring this up today of all days? Well, tomorrow we'll have an opportunity to vote again on a change to the House rules, House Resolution 72. But I know that I'll only get 2 minutes, so I wouldn't have had time to have that kind of fun tomorrow when we move to pass that by. So, Mr. Speaker, members of the House, we have not given up yet on this effort to get the rules changed to allow a vote on these 2 very important constitutional amendments that the Senate sent over to us. Not only do these things have broad bipartisan support on the Second Amendment, which I haven't even talked about yet, but the repealing the Marshall-Newman Amendment, 70% of voters, that's a broad bipartisan coalition in the 2021 Gallup poll, said they support people having the right to marry the person they want to. They support same-sex marriage or just marriage, right? So, Mr. Speaker, this tends to become a partisan issue. And I'm really not quite sure why. It gets to be a procedural vote. We try and hold everybody to their party line. And, Mr. Speaker, I hope that tomorrow, when we have a chance to vote on this again, that people will sort of throw off the partisan labels here, because this is not a Democratic issue or a Republican issue. This is an issue that's got broad bipartisan support, is supported by members of this chamber. And what we did differently in this next rules change is we made this very narrow. So maybe last time you didn't like the idea of taking away that much control from leadership, making all resolutions subject to being discharged. And maybe you thought you could get away with voting for it because it was broader. So this one's very narrow. This one says that we can use a majority vote to discharge only those joint resolutions that are amending the Constitution. And that distinction is important because this is about the question of whether or not to send these changes to the Constitution to the voters of Virginia and give them a chance to vote. And so, Mr. Speaker, members of the House, I would ask particularly the newer members of the caucus, when you go back, we're almost done here, right? We got 5 more days, hopefully, and then we're back to our constituents. You guys are going to be asked when you hold town halls and you go to civic associations, as new members in particular, what was the most outstanding thing that happened? What was it that surprised you? What were you most proud of when you got to be a member of the General Assembly and cast your votes? And you can go back and you can explain, well, what I learned really quickly is I just got to toe the party line. It's whatever the Speaker tells me to do. That's what I decided to do, Mr. Speaker. Is that what you want to go back and tell your constituents? Or do you want to be able to tell them that, Mr. Speaker, do you want to say your constituents, I had to make some hard calls. There are some things that my leadership and the establishment didn't want me to do, but there are things that I said I cared about, things that were a matter of conscience to me, things that I said and I promised you when I got to the General Assembly I would vote for and support, and I went ahead, and as difficult as it was, I did it. I think that's what your constituents want to hear from you when you get back to your homes. I don't think they want to hear that you became a member of the establishment, you learned to toe the party line, that you thought about future committee assignments more than you thought about people's ability to be redeemed, people's freedom to marry who they please. And so I hope, Mr. Speaker, I hope, members of this House, that when this resolution comes up tomorrow, we will ignore the inclination and the reaction to just make this procedural, just stick with the herd. Let's stand on principle. Let's do what we know is right, what I know you all believe is right, and let's vote yes on the resolution. Let's get this discharged. Let's get this to the floor, and let's get it to the voters. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.